So I went to see this lady earlier in the year. Sadly, her husband had had to move out of the family home due to a health complication and had moved into a local nursing home. So the lady was living on her own with family support. They had a dementia diagnosis, but physically were doing really, really well in the house on their own. But their recall of how they were doing tasks, when they were doing tasks, were starting to have an impact on their health and well-being. So the just checking enabled us to kind of concentrate on where the family had their concerns and provide the information so that we could use that to support the person to make their own decision. And it was really powerful because once we had the information from the sensors, I took that to kind of follow-up meetings and presented that information to the lady. And she was able to make her own decision, which was really lovely. It enabled her to be included in the decision making and presented her with the information that she needed to be able to do that.
I've put several cases through to Just Checking. I think it's about six at the moment. A particular gentleman I was working with had recently just lost his wife. His wife had been in hospital, sadly passed away. So he was quite anxious about being there by himself, and the family were quite anxious as well. Didn't think really that Dad might be able to manage without his wife, who did all of the cooking and the cleaning and was did a welfare check for her husband. She was the eyes and ears for her husband. Initially the family were a little bit sceptical because they felt Dad needed to go into a care home and that a package of care at home wouldn't be enough. But by using the Just Checking system, sort of checking the exit routes because they were concerned about wandering tendencies. They were also concerned that he wasn't eating and drinking enough. But by using the Just Checking system, it identified that yes, he didn't always go to bed at 11 o'clock when we all think we should go to bed. That sometimes he stayed up until 10 past 12, but then he would stay in bed all night. It also identified that he was making himself drinks during the day. And I believe that gave the family and him the confidence that actually Dad was okay at home by himself with, I think it was a twice or three times a day package of care.
I've got an example of somebody who the reassessment came to us because a community psychiatric nurse felt that the person needed a residential care home, that they were no longer safe at home. They had dementia and they were living in extra care housing, so they had carers visiting, but she lived alone and they were particularly concerned overnight, and so were the family. One family member thought that they needed residential care as well, whereas the other family member thought that they should stay at home because that's where they've always wanted to be. So we used Just Checking to go in to see what was happening when the carers weren't there, when she was on her own. There was particular concerns that she was falling overnight. However, Just Checking, going in and looking, and we established that she wasn't falling overnight. So the involved worker, she used it to find out exactly what was happening at night. So we knew there weren't falls, so that was great. But we wanted to check if she was still at risk of them overnight. And why she was getting up overnight, we established, was that she needed the toilet and she got a commode. She was struggling to redress after she'd used the commode. So we worked with her to change the night clothes that she was going to bed in so that she could access the commode easily and then get back to bed. And she was actually managed to stay at home, and she's still at home. And the family are reassured by that. The community psychiatric nurse, she's changed her opinion that she doesn't feel that she needs to go into care anymore. So that's been a real success story for us.